Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast rewatching the entire franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Acquisition. Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before. How's your week been, Tom?
Oh, it's been very exciting.
Well, it's been 2 weeks, actually. We didn't have an episode last week.
Yeah, true. I'd like to say that it's been filled with lots of wonderful things and amazing events, but no, not really.
Yeah.
I cut down a couple of trees and that was fun. Trying not to...
So butch.
Yeah, I feel real manly when you're doing things like that, don't you?
I wouldn't know.
You were true. Actually, I do remember you a few times over the years going, oh no, I'm too gay for that.
Was that riding a bus or changing oil?
It was. I think it was push starting a car or roll starting a car. But yeah, that's about all I've been doing, cutting down trees and trying not to let them fall on the neighbour's house. So very exciting. Yeah. What about you? You been doing anything the last couple of weeks?
I feel like I've been doing a lot.
Yeah, I know. I've sort of seen you a few times and like sort of come and gone around the house, but yeah.
It's been really hectic. Like, work's been really busy. Northwest Pride, which is the charity that I run for those listening, it's that's been really busy as well. So yeah, it's just been a lot. And we did a queer art collective here on the Northwest did a art show last week that we went to a walkthrough with our little group, and they surprised me with a little thank you speech, and they gifted me one of their artworks, which was pretty amazing.
Oh, that's pretty nice of them. That's
yeah, it was
cool.
lovely. And then just sort of been at work, and it's just been really tiring, which is why we didn't have an episode last week, because I just needed a little break.
Yeah.
But this week's been a bit easier, and we've obviously made some time to be able to actually do the thing that we like to do, which is talk about Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens with work sometimes, isn't it? Just gets a little bit much.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here now. And that's the important thing.
Exactly. Back to Star Trek.
Back to track.
Our safe space.
Yes, that's right. All right, let's get into this week. This week's episode is Acquisition, story by Rick Berman and Brannon Braga, teleplay by Maria and Andre Jacquemeton, who we've mentioned before, and I've butchered their name before.
And we'll continue
and
to.
we'll continue to. Directed by James Whitmore Jr., who had done quite a bit of TV directing before Star Trek Enterprise, Buffy and The X-Files.
It was funny. When you said the name, I was like, I think I know that name.
Do you? Well, after this did Dead Like Me.
Yeah, that's why I know the name.
And a lot of NCIS. But,
yeah.
He does one more episode of Enterprise next season, and that's it for his Star Trek career.
Fuck, I love Dead Like Me.
It was a good show.
It's such a good show.
I love Buffy and the X-Files.
Yeah, well, that too, but that goes without saying. Whereas Dead Like Me is not a very well-known show, but it should be because it's fucking
really
awesome.
Good. It is good. Acquisition's original air date was March 27th, 2002, and the IMDb synopsis reads, almost the entire crew is left unconscious when 4 Ferengi pirates raid Enterprise. A still conscious Trip is the only one who can get rid of them. Do you remember this episode?
I don't remember exactly what happens throughout the episode, but I do remember Ferengis and being angry about Ferengis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they've mentioned Ferengi in an earlier episode, but this is the first time we're going to see them in a chronology. Yeah. And then they disappear until Picard.
Yeah.
Until Picard has the Enterprise in the 24th century.
Yeah,
so.
and they're significantly different, if I remember correctly. Like, not visually.
Not visually, no.
But personality-wise, I suppose it's the word cultural-wise.
I don't really remember this episode that well either. It's, I remember Ferengi. I remember Trip spends half this episode in his underwear.
Oh, God.
And I remember that Ethan Phillips is the main Ferengi.
No, well, that's... You see, now that encourages me a little bit, because I really like Ethan Phillips.
Yeah. I know you do. And in... I assume, I don't remember, but I assume they don't connect the name Ferengi with these aliens, because Picard didn't know what Ferengis look like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct.
So I'm assuming that they interact with these Ferengi, and the synopsis says Ferengi, but only the audience knows that, and the crew of the Enterprise shouldn't find that out, I'm assuming.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, if they mentioned Ferengi earlier in the series, they might... Anyway, we'll watch it and see what happens.
And find out. Yeah. But the other aliens said that they've been visited by the Ferengi.
Yeah.
That's all they said.
That was all they said.
Didn't say what they look like or...
Yeah, okay.
What
so
kind of ships they have.
They might not connect the dots.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Well, that might cover it a little bit, and I might be happier with that.
We'll see. We'll see. But, I mean, the story was by Rick Berman and Brennan Braga, who did this era of Star Trek, so you would think they'd be pretty conscious of how everything fits together in this time frame. So I guess we'll find out.
That's it.
Let's go watch it.
Righto.
And we're back from watching Acquisition. Tom, what are your first thoughts on this Ferengi episode?
I actually liked it.
What?
Yeah, which is very surprising, because I was going in thinking I was going to hate it, because Ferengis in the Enterprise era is a bit like, what the fuck are they doing there?
And also, you don't like Enterprise.
Well, yeah, that too. But I actually liked it. It was quite good.
I think you actually like Enterprise more than you thought you did at the start of this podcast.
Well, yeah, I am actually warming up to it quite a bit, like, compared to what I thought.
Yeah. So you liked this one?
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. It was a good laugh. Like, it was lighthearted, and I liked that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's get into it. We open on the Enterprise, which appears adrift out in space. And we see another ship approach. And then we see the bumps on the top of a Ferengi head as it pans down to show that we're on a Ferengi ship. And they are talking in Ferengi. Ferenginese.
Yeah, Ferenginese. I think it actually is Ferenginese. That's what they refer to it as.
Surely not.
Yeah, I think they do in Deep Space Nine.
Surely not. Mm-hmm. Please hold.
Working.
Pretty sure it was part of it anyway.
I think you're wrong.
I'll watch all of Deep Space Nine again and find the quote.
Yeah, sounds good. Because we won't get to Deep Space Nine until
I know, a long
the
time.
2030s.
Yeah.
At least. All right. So we see the Ferengi ship dock, and then we skip the credits, and we see the Ferengi starting to board the Enterprise. They make their way through the ship, through the corridors, through the mess hall, through engineering. There's unconscious Starfleet officers everywhere. It looks like they've all fallen asleep pretty suddenly. There's spilled food on the floor and pads everywhere and whatever. It looks like everyone's just become unconscious all at once. They pay attention to the size of the human ears and make some sort of comment in Ferengi, so I assume derogatory. And then when they're in engineering, they find this device thing next to the warp core, which has a little pop-up bit.
Is that the potbelly stove?
Yeah, you called it a potbelly stove. And they went over to it and closed it, and they saw T'Pol was unconscious there, and they made a comment on her pointy ears. And we see them get to the bridge. They finally make their way to the bridge. Then we cut to Trip waking up in the decon chamber in his underwear, and he uses a comm to ask the doctor if he can leave yet, and the doctor is, of course, unconscious like the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
But he's been in decon, so he's been separated from everything else that's going on. So Trip breaks out of decon a little too easily, if you ask me, but that's okay. Those doors look really flimsy.
Yeah, that's it. They were like pretty weak.
Pretty weak.
Yeah.
Like, not sure that's holding shit out of the rest of the ship.
No,
anyway.
barely.
So he gets into the corridor and he starts to find some unconscious people. He goes to the turbo lift, heading to sick bay.
And he's still in his underwear.
Yes,
He passes out. As soon as he opens the door, there's a whole rack of different clothes and stuff just there.
Well, I think the rack of clothes wasn't clothes. I think it was spacesuits.
Okay. All right.
Because that's where they go in to put on their spacesuits
To go walk about.
to go out into space or into the shuttles or whatever.
Yeah. But there's no fresh, clean suit waiting for him out the door.
I guess not.
No, because he mustn't have been, because he just walks out and walks around in his undies.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes, that is correct. So Trip gets into the turbo lift heading to sick bay. And once he gets in there, the Ferengi come in to start raiding things and like pushing things into bags. And Trip goes and hides up one of the escape tube, Jeffrey tube things in the back so he can see what's going on. And then he gets out into the corridor while they're in there filling up their bags full of loot. And then he sees two of the Ferengi wheeling out a torpedo. And then, they go one way and he runs off the other way. And then we cut to a commercial or a black screen.
Yeah.
And we cut back to the Ferengi now raiding the bridge. And it sort of cuts between the bridge and engineering for a little bit. And the people in engineering, the Ferengi in engineering are like looking at T'Pol and looking at some of the stuff there. And there's a Ferengi on the bridge who's like dismantling one of the chairs and taking it into the turbo lift. And
just
it's pretty
stripping
funny.
the shit.
They're really just taking everything they can. There's one in the mess hole raiding like the food and sniffing everything. And it's pretty funny.
It was a really well done moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of them's one of the crew quarters. They find some boots and like see if they fit. It was pretty good. Pretty good raid of the ship.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the cargo bay where they've sort of collected everything together that they've been collecting, including all of the women from the ship. So T'Pol and Hoshi and all the women of the ship are now piled up like all the other cargo that they've managed to raid.
Typical Ferengi.
Typical Ferengi. We cut to Trip coming into engineering. He sits at his desk and uses one of the monitors to see what the Ferengi are doing. And he sees them carrying Captain Archer from the bridge. Then we cut to Archer being chained up in the cargo bay, and the Ferengi have woken him up with a hyperspray, and they've got the universal translator there, and they're trying to use it. And we don't understand what they're saying for a minute, but eventually universal translator starts working. Archer asks who they are, and they say it's not important who we are.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
In fact, it's very important that you don't know who we are.
Exactly. Because the minute you say it, the minute everyone's going to get pissed
There
off.
goes the cannon. But the Ferengi want to know where the Enterprise vault is.
Yeah.
Archer says we're on exploration of science or whatever. We don't have a cargo hold.
Like, it's good because you see Archer very quickly understand what's happening. And you can...
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's as soon as they start talking about taking all the females to the slave markets, and Archer notices Troop up on the walkway.
Ledge, yeah.
And so Archer quickly is like, hey, well, let's talk about... No, wait. I'll show you where the vault is, but I'm keeping half of the gold bars.
Yeah.
And then they negotiate percentages and all that sort of stuff. So Archer is like playing the game straight from the top.
Yeah. It was excellent. It was just really well done.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
They start talking about percentages. They negotiate stuff. It doesn't work out. So they go looking for the vault, and they leave one of their Ferengi there as a guard that makes Archer load up all the things they've stolen onto the Ferengi ship.
Do all the hard labour.
Yeah, that's right. And this is where Archer does an excellent job of trying to sow some seeds of doubt But they also mention the rules of acquisition here as
Yeah.
well. I think we got 3 or 4 different rules of acquisition in this episode. So just in this scene alone, they mentioned 2. So they mention rule number 45, expand or die.
Yeah.
And a man is only worth the sum of his possessions.
Yeah.
They
Didn't say a number.
They didn't say a number for
No,
that one, but
no.
they did say that there was only 127 rules and that was the most important.
Yeah.
And Archer talks about the fact that that kind of mindset almost led to the destruction of their civilization in the past. And the Ferengi says, well, you should have managed your assets better.
Yes. Good, isn't it?
But yeah, Archer's really trying to sow some discourse and discontent into this guy's mind, trying
Yeah.
to get into his head a little bit.
Yeah.
You must get a bigger share because you do all the hard work.
That's right.
And he says, no, but I get the smaller share, actually.
Yeah. I don't have the lobes for business.
No, and my cousin, who's the captain, he manages my finances.
Yes.
And I suppose he charges you for that. Yes.
Of course.
Rule number 6, never allow family to get in the way of business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very funny.
So great.
It was very tactful of Archer and funny for the Ferengi.
Exactly, and that's what I loved about this episode. It was just it felt really good. It felt fluid too. It was just really good.
Yeah. So Archer notices Trip around the corner in the room, and he asks the Ferengi guard for some water and says it's in the mess hall, it's in a dispenser. Grab some food while you're there. So he gets tied up, and Trip comes in, and Archer and him have a quick conversation and say that they have a plan, but you're going to need some help. Head down to the cargo bay. They woke me up with a hypo spray. There's probably still some doses in there, so go do that.
He comes back with the sandwich and water, doesn't he? And he's like, "This is quite delicious. Maybe we should take your chef with us too."
Yeah, that's right. And Trip goes to engineering, wakes up to Paul, tells her what's going on, and she gives a bit of explanation here about that he had found a canister on his lunar mission, which is why he was in decon. He had found a canister that she had opened in engineering. That was the stove thing that you talked about. And that when she opened it, it released a gas, and that must have been what knocked everyone out.
Yeah, wicked device.
It must have been good.
Yeah, open it in engineering and
The whole ship gets infected like that.
in an instant. That's a bloody good thing.
Must be. Trip says that he can't wake anyone else up because the hypo spray is empty. It only had the 1 dose, so it's up to the 3 of them to fix the problem. The trilogy, the holy trinity of Enterprise, it's up to them to save the day.
Who would have guessed?
And I'll just make note as well, Trip is still in his underwear.
Yeah, funnily enough.
We cut to sickbay, and the other 3 Ferengi are there. They're trying to find the vault. They're looking through the scanner. They started saying, why would it be in the medical bay? It doesn't really make sense. And one of them says, another rule of acquisition, number 23, nothing is more important than your health, except your money. Paul's listening in to what's going on, and Trip is rigging some sort of device somewhere on the ship. We don't really see what it is. You just see him planting a
big locking mechanism,
a lock or something.
We have an idea that it's a lock because it's similar to what went on the time traveler's door. So Daniel's door, that was the same lock.
Yes, it was the same lock.
Yeah.
So Trip's rigging that up to some random place that we don't know. And then we cut back to the bridge, and 2 of the Ferengi are talking. They're trying to find the captain's quarters on the map because they think the vault might be there. And one of them is saying that he doesn't want to... No, that was before.
Yeah, that was in the sick bay. He was talking about he found something fancy in the medical bay when they were trying.
And he wanted to keep it for himself.
Yeah, that's right. Because he's like, no, everything I find, I'm keeping for myself because it didn't end up being a vault. So they were looking for other stuff. And he's like, no, I'm not sharing the profits. I'm just keeping all the shit.
Keeping whatever I find. So that guy is now finding all these scanners on the bridge, and he's planning on keeping them. So he's got 3 scanners up on the desk. And they're talking, and then T'Pol's listening in from behind a door and sets off an alarm from Hoshi's station on the other side of the bridge. So they all run over there because it's with their big Ferengi ears. It's
Hurts like hell.
hurts like hell. So they go over and trying to figure out what's going on. And while they do that, she sneaks in and puts those scanners into one of the other Ferengi's bags and takes one with her. And the Ferengi shoot the panel to stop the alarm, which works. And then the Ferengi go back to the thing and go back to the table and see that the scanners are gone. And that starts a big fight between the three of them because he's like, what have you done with my scanners?
Yeah.
Like, they were my scanners.
You stole them.
You stole them. And of course, they're in his bag.
Yeah.
So he thinks they have stolen them. Yeah, so really using their advantage to sow some discontent between the people taking the ship hostage. It's a good plan.
It is.
We cut to engineering. The Ferengi guard is telling Archer to get an antimatter reactor out of the panels. And he says, I have to take it offline to do that.
Can't just yank it out of the wall.
Yeah, that's right. So he spends some more time sowing more discontent with his guard. And he basically says, well, how about you and I go into business together?
Yeah.
How about you help me capture your associates and I'll split the gold with you 50-50. I'll take you to the vault and we'll just take a 50-50 cut of whatever's there.
Yeah, have your own ship, everything.
That's right.
Won't be bossed around anymore.
And Archer says, I'll even throw in the Vulcan female. And he thought about it. This Ferengi guard thought about it very thoroughly before saying, get back to work.
Yeah. Offering that Ferengi female almost tipped the line. Vulcan, sorry.
We cut to a very funny scene of Ferengi trying to use a translator to talk to Porthos, Archer's dog.
That's great.
And one of them decides, the same one that wants to keep everything he finds, says he's going to take it to a zoo. So he puts the dog into a crate and Trip's there, and he
leads him. Yeah, he sort of makes a noise and then lets him see him a couple of times. And
and then so he chases Trip through the hallway and into the mess hall, where he, acting unconscious, lumped over a table. And when the Ferengi's next to him, he tackles him and wrestles him to the ground, bites his ear, knocks him out, takes his gun, goes into the hallway, and the Captain Ferengi, Neelix, electric whips him with the old whips from the first couple episodes of Ferengi appearance in Next Gen, which we hadn't seen for ages.
That's what I was going to say, which we don't see again, right? We sort of see them once or twice in the early days of Next Gen, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because they are quite cool. Impractical, but they're cool.
Yeah. We cut to Archer and his guard talking some more, and the rest of the Ferengi come in, and Trip comes in, and there's an argument. Trip says that he will show them where the vault is if he saves the women. Archer and Trip fight over whether they should protect the women or not.
Yeah, because he's like, you're not taking my wife.
Yeah, that's right.
She's not the one with the pointed ears, is she? No, it's Hoshi.
They're really selling that.
They are.
That idea that they're against each other.
Yeah, it was so good.
It was. So the Ferengi break up the fight, and then they argue about who gets to do what. And the guard that Archer's been with tries to stand his ground a little bit and say, I'm not going to just do the menial tasks anymore. I want to come with you.
That's it. I have the lobes for business. You just don't give me the opportunity.
Yeah. And nothing changes, and he backs down, and they all laugh at him. And then they all leave, leaving him with Archer to keep loading the ship.
Yep.
And they take Trip. Trip says he's going to show them where the vault is. Archer says he's got some back pain and he can't do anything anymore, so he sits down and says, "Oh, it's an old injury. I can't do it anymore."
Old water polo injury.
Yeah, like the Ferengi would know that.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. Like that translated, like.
Yeah. There's words for water polo in Ferenginese.
Exactly. Like what the fuck?
In Ferengi. Yeah, bizarre. Anyway, the guard ties Archer to the door handle bar thing, and then goes off to keep loading the ship because Archer's no good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Trip takes the Ferengi into the turbo lift down to the lower deck. And then we cut to the Ferengi guard loading things onto the ship. And T'Pol comes out of the back and she goes, "Are you here to save me?" She's being all seductive. And she says that she's being held hostage by the humans. And he says, "Humans?" And then, she flirts with him a little bit to try to get him on side. He asks about Umox, of course.
Of course.
Ferengis have two things in mind.
Yep.
Latinum and Umox.
Yeah.
Umox.
That's pretty much all that they run on.
So she starts rubbing his lobes or stroking his lobes, and then she nerve pinches him.
Yeah.
Grabs the key to unlock Archer, and then grabs a gun. And then we cut to Trip taking the Ferengi through random corridors and tubes and just sort of doing laps around the place.
That's so good.
It's Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Scooby-Doo.
Haven't we already passed this before?
Yeah.
Well, they all look the same down here.
Yeah, there's hundreds of them. But they finally come to the place where he set up that locking device earlier. And he says, "We're here. We're at the vault." He says, "You better let me go first because knowing Captain Archer, that's probably booby-trapped." They all fight about who should go in first. So they all rush in. And T'Pol's in there and shoots them all.
Yeah.
So they're all unconscious in about 5 seconds. Yeah, and then we cut back to T'Pol coming into the cargo bay to unlock Archer. She sort of dangles the keys a little bit like, "Well, you said Vulcans are always annoying, that we have no sense of humour." Yeah. And he says, "I'm sorry, look, I'll make it up to you." Yeah. And she says, "How? 5 bars of gold?" Yeah, so good interaction, good humour between those two there. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good.
And then we cut to see the Ferengi replacing all the stuff they've stolen, putting it all back where they got it, including the dog.
Yeah.
And once they're done, the guard Ferengi is now the one in charge. All the others are tied up on the bridge of the Ferengi ship. And Archer's basically saying, "I'm going to tell Starfleet, I'm going to tell the Vulcan High Command, if you ever come anywhere near us again, you'll regret it." And the Ferengi says, "You'll never see us again."
Yeah.
And the rest of the Ferengi try to bribe their way out of cuffs. And he basically runs the ship now. He's now the captain.
He's got his big boy pants on.
Exactly. And then that's it. The ship undocks and they fly away, and we don't ever see the Ferengi again until Next Generation. So done. So now we talk through it. What do you think?
I was impressed. I was really happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was really happy with it. It was really good. It was very funny and very well acted, and the timing was fantastic. Like, it was just really felt good to watch, which I was really surprised about.
It was a well-paced episode.
Exactly.
Good humour. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very enjoyable.
Yeah. What's the life lesson in this one? I think the life lesson might be to not follow the rules of acquisition. And that, greed will not win in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greed, profit, and
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right. So the life lesson is sort of an anti.
Yeah. It's the opposite of what we watched, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's a...
Don't live your life for profit.
Okay. What about IMDb rating? For those at home, our examples of 1 episodes are Voyager's Threshold and Next Gen's Code of Honor. Examples of 10 episodes are Next Gen's Tapestry and Deep Space Nine's Far Beyond the Stars. Thinking of those, where would you put this one? Where do we put Acquisition on the list?
It's actually going to be a lot higher than I thought it would be.
Oh, no.
Because I think it's one that I could rewatch, and it felt like it was fun. It was enjoyable. So I would put this at a 7 or an 8. Like, I'd actually put it up quite high.
That is high.
Yeah.
So an 8 would put it on par with the Andorian incident and Shuttle Pod 1.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, it's not like heavy on the sci-fi or anything, but it's good on story, it's good on laughs, it's good on repeatability.
All right. We'll put Acquisition at an 8.
And they didn't ruin it by saying they were Ferengi and all that kind of stuff too.
Well,
So
we knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I said before we watched it, these are the people that should know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
Of getting all those canon things right. Because at this point, they're very well entrenched in Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. So they would have been to conventions. They understand the obsession, the pedantic nature of making sure that the turbo lifts are aligned correctly on the maps.
That's it. In episode 301, that console made this sound when you were doing this, and then in 405 it actually made a separate sound, and I don't understand why that is, and I'm just asking the question.
Exactly. We say this having never been to a convention ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess that's it for the week. It was a nice short one this week.
Yeah.
You can join in the conversation if you want to get in touch. You can find us on Facebook at Temporal Directive Podcast and on Instagram, just Temporal Directive. Or you can email us at wakefield_productions@outlook.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, Star Trek Enterprise, or just Star Trek in general. We just love talking about Trek, so please let us know what you think. And we will be back next week with the episode Oasis. Oasis. Not the band. The Enterprise episode. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.